My mom turned her guest room into a nursery after I told her she will never meet my child. I'm currently pregnant with my first child and both my mom and stepdad have been terrible to me and my partner the entire time. Told us we would be unfit parents because we aren't married yet. Legitimately screamed at my partner for knocking up their little girl even though we planned the pregnancy. They would call him every day and harass him, and show up to his work. Tried to convince him to leave me so I would have no choice but to move back in with them. It got worse as time went on. I finally decided to cut contact with them. Having a child can already be a stressful time and having them around to make it worse was not something I was okay with. My partner and I have gone through a lot with family drama the past couple years and having this baby has been one of the most exciting things for us. If my parents can't be nice to my partner then they don't get to see our baby. Plus they are the kind of people who don't wear masks in public and actively choose to be in large gatherings with no social distance, so seeing a newborn is out of the question. One day I sent my mom a very detailed email of why she is not allowed to be a part of my life anymore and will not be seeing her grandchild. To make things even better, I also noted that we will be moving across the country shortly after she is born to be closer to other family members. So not only is she cut off, but we are literally moving far away and never coming back. She responds by showing up at our house at 11 p.m. screaming outside our door about how it is her baby and she deserves to be there for it. I tell her to fuck off and eventually she leaves. Months go by and she will text me randomly asking about technical problems with her Wi-Fi router or something and needs help. Little things like that don't mean much to me and I sent her the info she needed. My cousin also had a virtual baby shower and sent my invitation to my mom's house accidentally so my mom came by to give it to me. Things slowly came to a point that we were fairly amicable with each other but I still stood my ground about our boundaries and nothing else had changed. She knew this. Then she sent me a video today that blew my mind. She redecorated her entire guest room to be a nursery. Crib, changing table, $400 worth of newborn clothes, toy chest, stroller, a car seat for her car, and the list goes on. In the video she is in tears saying OMG I can't believe my baby is going to be here soon, this is where she will sleep, where I will change her little diapers, these will be her toys. Is she psychotic? Her baby? Sleeping and living at her house? What? So I call her up immediately and I reiterate that we are still moving across the country soon and that she will have no contact with the baby before that. Her response? Oh okay we will see about that. Genuinely confused. What part of you will have no contact with this baby does she not understand or think will change in the next few weeks when she is born? Is she planning on stealing her from us? I am at a loss for words. I have been seeing a psychotherapist the past few months strictly due to the relationship I have had with my mother throughout my life and all of that is documented. My midwife and hospital are also very aware of the situation and the emotional stress I have been going through. So we will definitely be utilizing this in the case that she tries to sue us or call CPS. Also, due to the virus, only my partner is allowed to be with me during the birth anyway. We will be keeping things hush until after we move. We would have moved months ago if it was financially possible for us. We also spent a lot of money on my birth center here that is non-refundable. She is due in August and our lease ends in September. We already have everything set up to move, and our other family is helping us out. Just a waiting game at this point. My partner is my power of attorney if something happens to me during the birth. We are currently in a state that is against grandparents' rights. The only way she would be able to sue for visitation is if both myself and my partner were deceased. Even after we move, she still cannot file for GPS if she is living in this state. My mom calls me after the birth crying about how upset she is that I didn't invite her to be present for the birth and also to congratulate me on giving birth to her baby. Then asks when she can come see her. My partner and I, along with the consultation of a lawyer, agreed that my mother could see her one time through a car window, though there would be no touching or holding of any kind, just a simple viewing. So I told her this and her response was that she would let me know when she's available and then hasn't said a word to me all week after, which works for me because I didn't want her to see the baby anyway. We just wanted to give her a chance. This morning I got a voicemail from her asking to go on a resort trip for the weekend. I am absolutely baffled by this. What is going on in her mind? I don't even know what to say. There is still a pandemic and we are quarantining the baby. I literally just gave birth a few days ago. We haven't spoken in months and all of a sudden she expects me to just go on a vacation with her? She is not allowed to see the baby. Even if she just wanted me to go, I'm not leaving my newborn. I'm not going to take the baby away from her father for that long just so my mom can hang out with her. We are set to move as soon as I'm cleared by my midwife. I'm not responding to my mother and I'm starting to think that she is either seriously trying to manipulate me or is just not right in the head. Probably a mix of both. I gave her a chance to see the baby on my terms and she didn't take it, so that's her loss. Ek attacks my sister's service dog because EM doesn't think she needs it. This incident happened a few months ago. For context to those who haven't read my other 2 posts, my sister Amy, 17, was physically and sexually abused by my family. I took custody of both her and my other sister Liza, 8, who was being groomed into thinking that behavior would be normal when it started for her. Liza is fine now and adjusted to living with me properly, while Amy has a long list of physical and mental impairments that affect her daily. Because of this, I got her a service dog, a German Shepherd crossbred named Lickety Split. She has a funny shaped mark that looks like an ice cream cone on her head, and her trainers named her after one of the really old My Little Ponies. Now, Amy adores her dog. We did a few months' work with a trainer to get Lickety Split tailored towards Amy's needs, such as strangers needed to respect Amy's personal space bubble. Something I hear from people is how they struggle not to pay service dogs because they need to let them know they're a good dog, but trust me, their people let them know. Lickety gets groomed daily by Amy and they never go out without a pocket full of treats. I have 3 different stories of entitled parents and kids thinking they deserve Amy's dog more than her, and to save this from being one super long post, I'm going to share them separately. The first happened less than a month after we got Lickety Split. We were down at a local park that allowed off-lead dogs, letting our dog have a run around, and she didn't have her vest on as this was playtime for her. But I had it with me just in case she needed to go into service mode for my sister, which wasn't uncommon. I make an effort to get down to the park with Amy and Liza daily because otherwise Amy would just hide away in her blankets any chance she got, and it was good to be out in public and getting the fresh air. We were playing fetch with Lickety Split, taking turns throwing the ball for our happy doggo. Amy starts getting a bit antsy about an hour into our normally 2-hour-long walk, which happens. There isn't always a reason. She just gets fidgety and spooks easily, and I learned to recognize when she's distressed ages ago, so we called Lickety Split back. And I help her into her vest as when she's not wearing it. Kids often come up to pat and join in the play, but when Amy gets anxious it's better to have Lickety Split have her attention on Amy. A young child, maybe 9-ish. She was definitely older than Liza, comes up with her mum, who had one of those obviously fake smiles on her face. She didn't have the typical "can I speak to the manager" haircut, but one of those "I feel like I'm better than you and will make sure you know it" like haircuts. She will be our Karen and her daughter will be dubbed Little Susie. "Karen, why did you stop playing? Susie here was enjoying watching you play with your dog. She was actually just asking me to let her play with it. And I said yes. So would you mind giving her the ball?" Me with a friendly smile: "I'm sorry, miss. Our dog is an emotional support dog and she needs to look after my sister right now. I'm not sure why you said your child could play with her dog. I most certainly wouldn't tell my girls it was okay for them to play with things." As I explained this, I moved to stand between her and Amy, who is sitting on the ground with her attention on her dog and trying to ground herself. I'm very protective over both my sisters, so I leave no room for her to get near Amy, who is now on the ground, breathing heavily. While Lickety Split does her job while telling Liza to sit with her big sister and help her if she needs, as sometimes Amy needs help to calm down. "Karen, that's not a real thing. Your sister isn't blind. She doesn't need a dog working for her. If you're going to be lazy, at least let my child play with a mutt." Me guide dogs aren't the only type of service dog, miss. My sister had her dog to help with her anxiety and other mental health issues. She has her vest on now, so disturbing our dog is illegal as she needs to have her attention on my sister. "Karen, dogs shouldn't be made to work for people. It's wrong that you've enslaved that poor animal." Me, miss. Our dog isn't enslaved. She's simply been taught how to recognize when my sister needs help or needs to calm down, even though I went through courses to help me learn how to best cater to my sister. Our dog is treated as an extension of the family and enjoys helping my sister. Now we need to get home so I can get my sister's dinner. As I turn to my sisters, I see Susie trying to grab at Lickety Split's tail. Liza simply plops herself down at her rear with her back to Little Susie and begins patting her sister's dog's back. Deciding I'd had enough and there was no way Amy was going to calm down here, I start to pack up the girls to take them home despite it being an hour earlier than normal. I turn around and help Amy off the ground. She's in tears and shaking at this point and won't let go of Lickety Split, who is in her alert mode due to my sister's mood. Liza complains about having to go home early as I clip on Lickety Split's lead and hold Amy close, letting her hold onto part of the lead while I hold the handle out of caution. Read too many stories on Reddit. As we start to walk off, Little Susie leaps forward and tackles our dog. Amy screams and crouches on the ground with her hands over her head in a frantic panic while I push the kid away. Lickety Split, who is limping and whining but still goes straight for Amy and stands over her. By now she is quite angry and growling at Karen and Susie for scaring her person and hurting her. The child is crying at how I pushed her off the doggy she really wants, and all she wanted was a ride on her back. Note this kid was almost almost twice the size of lickety-split Karen then comes up to me practically foaming at the mouth. Karen, hand over that mutt right now, or I am reporting you for raping my child. Me, miss, my sisters are in my care because they were abused by their family. Report me for doing anything that could result in me losing them and I will sue you for slander. Now, your child hurt my sister's dog, so we're going to the vet. May I have your details so I can send you the vet bill? As I say this, I point to the nearby toilet block with a security camera on the side. I'm sure the whole thing is on tape. Karen, a look of dumbfounded anger over her features, reluctantly gives me her number before she takes her child and dashes. But I make sure to also write down the plate number of her car before calling the police, just in case she does make the rape claim. I'm very cautious when it comes down to the custody of my siblings, as I don't trust most of my family with them, and losing custody over them would kill me. We took Lickety-Split to the vet and she only had minor sprains to her hind legs and back. I made sure to send the details of the vet bill to Karen, and surprise surprise, she refused to pay until I threatened to take her to court, as Lickety-Split and all her training were not cheap. Typically here in Australia they can cost anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000, and while I won't say exactly how much she cost, it was on the latter end of the spectrum and she is worth every penny. After a little back and forth, she reluctantly pays before contacting me 3 days later saying she is going to sue me for the money back, to which I simply tell her I'll see her in court. It's been about 7 months now and nothing. I've never understood how people can think they're entitled to other people's pets. While I didn't mind buying Lickety-Split for Amy, she was a lot more expensive than regular dogs, and this Karen didn't even believe she was specially trained. Our dog is doing fine now, and it's a massive load off me having her, as I don't feel the need to hover over Amy to make sure she's okay. But please remember never to disturb a service dog. Their attention needs to be on their person. This is the more mild of my 3 stories. The other 2 needed the police to get involved. So, this is the second of my 3 encounters with entitled parents that relate to my little sister's service dog. Sorry it took so long to get out. More issues with my mom have risen lately, and I am a single potato caring for 2 needy tater tots. I do have 2 other stories. The first explains how I came into custody of my beautiful little sisters after my parents allowed the elder of 2 to be physically, mentally, and sexually abused for 6 years. The other is a brief encounter with entitled parents who didn't believe my sister needed a service dog because she has mental illnesses. I'll link them at the bottom for convenience. I'm also far from the best storyteller as well as the best writer in general, so bear with me, it's all so long. I'll be using the same false names for my sisters that I've used for all my other stories: Amy, who is 17, and Liza, who is 8. I'm their older brother, and I'm 29. This all takes place in Australia. As briefly mentioned in my other EM story, I do my best to get Amy outside for at least an hour a day, and this normally involves taking her service dog for a leisure walk as a family, which she enjoys and is accustomed to at this point. On this particular day, a new playground had just opened up nearby, so I thought it might be fun to take my girls somewhere different. And Amy likes to play fetch with Lickety-Split, her service dog, who is a cross between a purebred German Shepherd and a mutt, a mixture of several different breeds, this one specifically bred with calmer, easier to train temperaments. I made sure to look into the rules regarding off-leash dogs. As a service dog, she's allowed pretty much everywhere if she has a lead and vest on and isn't disturbing the peace. There was a nearby field where off-lead dogs were permitted, but the area around the playground only allows off-lead dogs, which is normal for my area. So, armed with doggy doo-doo bags, sunscreen, water, and a Lickety-Split's vest and lead, we drive down to the new park. New areas do make Amy anxious, so we walk around a bit to help her get an understanding of where everything is, and during this time, Lickety-Split has her vest and lead on, dutifully walking at Amy's pace like the best doggo she is. There are quite a few little kids around, and we don't want them distracting her, but most seem to understand what Lickety-Split's vest means. However, one kid in particular, whom we'll dub like little entitled girl, does approach and ask to play with Lickety-Split. Amy has selective mutism, she can't talk in certain most situations. I take the duty to explain that Lickety-Split is working right now and can't be distracted, but I point to the field and say we might be playing there later if Amy feels up to it. She normally doesn't mind other people throwing the ball as long as they don't actually touch Lickety-Split or her. Leg huffs and says that dogs are for playing, not working. I ask her if she's ever seen police dogs on TV or anything, to which she hesitantly replies yes, and I explain that those are different types of working dogs. Lickety-Split's job is to take care of my sister because she gets frightened very easily, and her dog makes sure she doesn't get hurt if she gets scared. The leg then turns to Amy, who is getting a bit fidgety and keeps tugging on my shirt. Her silent signal that she wants to move away from this while Lickety Split is in her alert stance when she has a feeling something around could trigger Amy or cause her harm. The leg then throws her arms up and shouts boo, which of course causes her to jump and hide behind me, starting to cry. Amy, even to this day, is very timid and doesn't cope well in strange environments with loud noises and sudden movements towards her. The leg starts laughing and calls Amy retarded. Liza, who is very protective of her big sister, then pushes the girl and scolds her for being mean, and I decide that we've all had enough of this girl and hurry my sisters along so we can find somewhere for Amy to calm down in peace. We find an area out of sight from the leg, and I sit Amy down on a bench in the shade where I can work towards calming her down before deciding if we should just go home. Thankfully, she wasn't too bad as far as her anxiety attacks go. She was just breathing heavily and hot, and she was crying quietly. I asked her if she wanted to go home, but she declined and asked that we just stay away from Leg because Liza still wanted to play in the playground and said she didn't want Lickety to split off her lead. I'm hesitant but agree, knowing that because Amy is trying to overcome her anxiety, she does sometimes want to push herself out of her comfort zone, and I would just have to keep a close eye on her and make sure she isn't pushing herself too far. The next little while is quiet Liza playing in the playground while Amy and I sit in the shade with Lickety Split laying beneath the bench and Amy reading a book. As you'd expect, more kids came to ask to give pats to our dog, but I politely turned them away with no issues. No Leg, or so I thought. Leg comes running up to Amy and me with her mother in tow, jabbing her finger at me while blabbering about animal abuse. Now, most of my attention was on my sister rather than what this lady was saying, so the conversation isn't exactly word for word. This also took place months ago. The mother looks me up and down as if I had no business being in the area. My suburb is the next one over and considered slightly higher class as she asks if Lickety Split is my dog. I explain how Lickety Split is in my name but she is registered as Amy's service dog. In Australia, if you are under 18, parents or guardians are considered the owners of dogs. Even if a registered service dog is serving a minor when she turns 18, Lickety Split's ownership will be transferred to Amy. The parent gave me a look as if she had hit her child. She then snarls at me something along the lines of how dare you make an innocent animal work and brainwash it into being able to do nothing more than follow your demand. I just shrug and tell her that she is entitled to that opinion and ask her to leave as she was upsetting Amy. She then demands I hand the dog over to her, as a dog as spectacular looking as mine should not be forced into slavery. I give her a simple nope and wave her off, and she leaves surprisingly with her daughter complaining about how she wants a dog that is well behaved enough to sit like Lickety Split is. About half an hour passes and we were packing up to leave. Amy quietly asks if we can throw the ball just a little for Lickety Split because she doesn't feel it's fair for her dog to miss out on the fun. So we head back to the field, remove Lickety Split's lead and vest after checking Leg or her mother weren't around. Side note, her dog tags also say that she is a service dog, as well as have my name, address, and phone number on them, and this will be important later. And we begin a small session of fetch with Lickety Split, taking turns throwing the ball as we usually do. Now the park is set up, so the field is right next to the car park with a row of bushes separating the two, and the area we were standing in had a few trees shading some picnic tables. As Liza is taking her turn to throw the ball, it hits a tree and bounces through the bushes. Lickety chases after it, and I tell my sisters to stay put while I follow, just to make sure she doesn't end up on the road. Despite Liza's throw not being too hard, Lickety Split wasn't directly behind the bushes like I thought she'd be. In fact, I couldn't immediately find her after passing the bushes. I looked around for a moment before hearing Lickety Split's distressed barking and bolting into the car park, finding a family of 5 attempting to wrestle Lickety Split into the back of their car. The family including Leg, her mother, father, a boy most likely a middle child, and an older girl apparently the oldest. The father was holding Lickety Split's jaw shut while the children were attempting to move her into the trunk of the car. My dog was not making it easy for them, and since the mother seemed to refuse to get close and the father was fighting to keep her head under control, they were struggling quite a bit. I yelled at them to let Lickety Split go, and several things happened in quick succession. The F lost his grip on Lickety Split's head while the two girls jumped back, leaving me holding her hind legs off the ground. Lickety Split barked several times before the F again tried to hold her muzzle, which she responded to by biting his arm and flinging herself at the boy, snapping at him until she managed to land a bite on his ankle and bolt to my side. I grabbed her collar and yelled several obscenities at the family for attempting to steal my dog. At this time, a security man arrived, explaining how someone had reported an incident and asking what was going on. At this time, Amy and Liza had also come looking for me, most likely hearing the barking and yelling as well as just wondering why I was taking so long. Amy was on the brink of a panic attack, and Lickety strained against my grip to get to Amy, so I let her go, telling Amy and Liza to quickly put her vest and lead back on. The father is now yelling at the SM at how they found what they had assumed was an abandoned dog, that they were planning on taking to a shelter to adopt the poor thing when I appeared and beat the dog until she was so scared it bit him and his son, and he now demanded the dog be put down immediately. The SM looks over the lickety-split, who was taking a defensive stance in front of my sisters and snarling at the family, before looking at me and asking what my side of what happened was. Thinking this could take a while, I asked him to hold on a moment while I move my sisters and lickety-split off the road and into the shade. Amy is having a panic attack at the prospect of her dog being put down and sobbing for me to protect her dog. At this point, I just wanted to get her home, where it was much easier to calm her down. So I turned back to the SM and the family and explained the misthrown ball, how I'd come to make sure my dog didn't end up on the road, and how I found the family attempting to steal my sister's service dog when the EM interrupted, screeching, "That's proof he abuses the dog. No dog should be made to work." The SM then pauses before he states that his grandma has a guide dog because she is going blind. Pause from the family. SM turns to the kids and asks if they were trying to move the dog in the car. The older girl confirms this. SM then asks if they waited to see if anyone claimed the dog. The girl shook her head, and the EM then claimed the dog had no tags. I point out Lickety-Split's beautiful handmade, bright purple and blue collar, stating it has my phone number and address on it, before asking SM if I could take my sisters home. I didn't even care about pressing charges for the attempted dog napping. I just wanted to get Amy home as she was really struggling to calm down. Thankfully, SM understood, took my details, and explained that this would most likely go to the police as my dog had bitten 2 people. I wasn't too worried about this as my state law says that if a dog bites or attacks someone, it would be put down unless provoked to do so. He would make sure to save all security footage as evidence as he could clearly see I cared for my dog and family. He let me go but warned me that Lickety-Split must be kept in my name and her residence can't change, or it would have worse legal repercussions. I assured him we weren't going anywhere before ushering my sisters to my car to get home. I left the car park and drove to another at a sports field close by before trying to calm Amy down, going through our normal method of grounding her before giving cuddles, and talking her down from her panic attack. She's still shaky when I pull away, but I wanted to get her home where she could lie down and relax, so she just cuddled the toy she had brought and her dog the whole way home while crying softly. Amy normally sits in the backseat with Lickety-Split and Liza no matter where we are going. We ended up ordering from a restaurant Amy's favorite for dinner and watching a movie together snuggled up on the pull-out lounge. The girls both fell asleep there, and I let them be. This was before Amy was back in school, but I took the next day off from her tutoring and worked from home since she was still upset. The police did get in contact with me about Lickety-Split biting 2 people, but confirmed they had seen the security footage and agreed that the situation had provoked Lickety-Split to do so. There was also a whole court procedure where the family was adamant the attack was unprovoked, and they were just trying to help what they thought was a stray dog, but one of the cameras caught a very clear display of Lickety-Split collar, which has my phone number. Not to mention, EM and Leg had seen me and my sister twice that day, which the cameras had also caught. The parents were fined and given community service, and since I just wanted it to be over, I didn't press further, but we haven't been back to that park since. Hey Redditors, sorry the wait was so long. I've been having issues with my mom over the girls and just been generally busy lately, so this may be a little rushed. It did affect Amy for a few days, but after plenty of assurance her dog would be fine, she calmed down over it, but she is very selective over who touches Lickety-Split now. I've had a lot of people asking for ways they can help, offering to send things, and so much more. I'd like to say that while the offer of sending things is a sweet one, Amy is extremely fussy when it comes to her toys, the ones she plays with, and even about what stays in her room as she gets scared of random things. A lot of what she does getting gifts off other people is money and gift cards as she likes picking things out herself. I am in no way asking for these things. We are also very well off at this point. A maid helped me get a job in the field I was studying in that at the time I was in no way qualified for, but kudos to him and it pays more than enough to support my little family. Couple that with therapy costs covered by our parents as well as the support payments they have to pay means we all live comfortably. If you feel like doing something nice or supportive for us, donate towards a charity that helps prevent child abuse, support groups for victims or anything like that. Because while we are fine but a lot of children aren't and are in need of safe places to live, and putting money towards these causes is the best way to do something nice for us. I gave my mom one chance to see her only grandchild and she turned it down because it wasn't a good enough offer. I have a bad relationship with my mother to say the least. She has been horrible to my partner and I my entire pregnancy. I wrote an update about the things she was doing, like building a nursery in her room when I told her she wasn't going to see my baby a few days ago. But I finally got a response from her regarding the one viewing we were going to allow for her and I just had to post about it. Due to the virus, our pediatrician recommended that we quarantine the newborn for 2 months. My mother knew this. I told her many times. She refused to stay home, to get tested, to wear masks, or do anything really. It's her way or the highway in her mind, but not in reality. And boy did she get a wake-up call today. As of recently, I gave her the opportunity to view the baby through a car window. She seemed fine with it and said she would let me know when she was available. She was abiding by my boundaries? Quite shocking. Then 2 weeks pass and I hear nothing from her. Until this morning. She asks me when she can see her baby and that it's almost been 3 weeks and she hasn't held her. I laugh. I knew this was going to happen. I tell her she is in quarantine and no one but me and her dad can touch her. That she can see her through a window or not at all. She responds, I think I'll pass on the window. Let me know when I can hold my baby. I laugh again. This woman will not stop. I'm fed up. My pregnancy hormones are gone. My baby is here. We are moving away in a matter of weeks and she will never find us. If she thinks she has any power here, she is dead wrong. So I send one last message to her and say, okay, no window then. Maybe when she's 18 she will reach out to you. End blocked. I currently don't speak to my mother, nor have I for many months now. But somehow she still finds ways to butt into my life and the decisions I make for my child. My husband and I both come from anti-vax families. His side is against it but doesn't shame us for vaccinating our daughter. My mother, however, really has a lot to say about it. Since we both were raised to not believe in science, it was pretty natural for us to be against vaccinating our daughter when she was born. I had a home birth, so it was easy to avoid everything. We would lie to pediatricians about it and just did what our parents did when we were kids. But since the new vaccine for COVID was released, I started to consider getting it and decided to do some actual research on vaccines as a whole. My husband and I made the decision to get vaccinated, as well as getting a schedule started for our 6-month-old baby to catch her up. We went in this morning to get her first shots. Everything went smoothly and so far she seems fine. She has been fussy and sleepier than usual, but the pediatrician said that's normal and will go away in a day or two. We left feeling proud that we were able to educate ourselves effectively and set our baby up for success. Then I get a call. It's my grandpa. Or so I thought. I answer and the first thing I hear is, when you wake up and she isn't breathing, you'll be sorry. I can't believe you did this to my little girl. I hang up immediately and start to panic. I eventually traced it back to a family member that is a doctor. I was asking her questions about vaccines and I told her we were going in today. I guess she told my grandpa how excited she was for us, and then he told my mom, and then boom, end of the world. My mill found out later and seemed supportive, given her opinions about vaccines. She told us it's your decision, and I trust that whatever you do is what is best for her. So I'm glad we have her to help reassure us a bit. But now I've been getting texts and calls from my mom, through my grandpa's phone, absolutely freaking out, saying that she hopes something happens to her. So I will see the consequences of my actions. Also that she is praying for her, whatever that means. Ultimately, we are confident with our decision and will continue with her schedule. Although, at times we do question if we made the right decision. I'm sure everything will be fine, but my mother seriously needs to chill out.